The biggest auto show in the country is underway, and drivers are getting their first look at the hot new car models of the year. Crowds have checked out more than 500 cars in Detroit's Cobo Hall on Saturday. Among those getting the most buzz, the Ford GT, the supercar that has doors that swing up like a Lamborghini there. It also has more than 600 horsepower and a price tag that could hit $300,000. The Mercedes-Benz F-015 Luxury in Motion is getting a lot of attention. This futuristic car is a driverless one. It has front seats that rotate to face the rear. Then Audi has a driverless car as well. Here's a commercial showing the A7 heading into a parking garage and parking itself. Wow. Well, my next guest rode in this car and wrote about his experience in Wired magazine. And joining me now, Associate Editor of Wired, Alex Davies. Alex, with a welcome to you. I was laughing when I read your description of driving in this A7, which they call Jack, by the way. You say it's almost boring, and that's a good thing. Why boring?
Yeah, well, that's the whole idea, is that the idea is that once the car can take over control for you, then you don't really have to do anything. And all of a sudden, you're just sitting on the highway. And so as we were doing this drive, we were just driving for hours down the I-5 on California, which is not a particularly exciting highway. So once you don't have to drive anymore, you just kind of zone out.
Yeah. Would you ever be able to zone out enough to take a cat nap in the back?
I don't know if I would get out of the driver's seat, which is also completely illegal.
Okay.
And will probably stay that way. But I do think that once people get used to it, they'll pretty quickly zone out, probably to the point where they'll doze off a little bit or start reading. And that's supposed to be one of the biggest benefits to cars that can handle themselves on the highway,
right,
is that not only is it safer, but you get some of your time back. But
you can take over the driver's wheel because you have to sit there in the driver's seat. But if that happens, that means it's bad news, right?
Probably. Well, yes and no. If the car spins out or does something like that, then yes, that's the point where you want to take over control. But the bigger point for Audi and for the automakers working on this technology is that the cars aren't capable of handling every situation yet. So if it encounters heavy rain, that makes it harder for the car's sensors to see the road. Or if you encounter construction, that's where the car will signal that it's time for you, the human, to take back over.
But you know what's interesting? You talk about driving down Highway 5. This drive was from Palo Alto to Las Vegas. You're driving through the desert. I mean, those are boring roads. I've done them. But they also did a drive up to Pikes Peak. That was like a 12.5-mile drive, about, what, 156 turns. It took 27 minutes. So, I mean, this car can actually pretty much overcome anything. I mean, it's designed that way.
Yeah, it can handle some really challenging routes. And the point of the testing they did at Pikes Peak and also at the Hockenheimring, which is a Formula One track in Germany, was to see how the car handles at the limits of traction, when it's going really fast, when it's taking the corners really hard. And that way they understand how the car will behave when it's pushed to its limit.
And how long till we see these cars out on the road, and how much are they going to cost?
So cost, I don't really know yet. The Audi I was driving in to begin with, the regular version, costs about $100,000, so you'll be going up from there.
Yeah.
But so what Audi wants to do is in the next couple of years is introduce a few basic technologies. The parking itself in a garage thing, it showed off a couple, last year in Las Vegas. That should be here within a couple of years. Then the highway driving that I tested out will be here maybe about 5 years from now.
Pretty exciting stuff, Alex Davies. Thank you very much for the conversation and the great pictures. Something to look forward to. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.